Who am I? Why am I the one talking here to all of you? I'm a 17-year-old girl. I'm a 5-time speaker at DEF CON. This summer, I have been accepted into the IBM's X-Force Red internship program, which is very exciting because that's their elite hacking team. Thank you. I'm the founder and CEO of Secure Open Vote, which is my own end-to-end election system I built after seeing how kind of crappy our systems are. I am also the founder and CEO of Girls Who Hack. Our motto is teaching girls the skills of hacking so that they can change the future. I provide free online and in-person classes on all things cybersecurity for middle school to high school age girls. At this conference, Girls Who Hack taught cybersecurity to 50 students from the Tampa area. So thank you, Cyber Florida, for making that possible. Last year, I was a DEF CON goon, and this year, I am running DC Next Gen, which is the youth track at DEF CON. So if you have kids, know someone who has kids, or want to kidnap a kid, this is the place to bring them. We have a ton of amazing events and things planned, everything from intro workshops to we have a badge planned out, we have CTFs, a ton of super cool collaborative learning stuff. When talking about election security, it's important to put your personal political preferences and beliefs aside in order to address the big issue at hand, which is disinformation. Disinformation used in a military and political setting is called PSYOPs. So let's start off with a definition, then a little history. PSYOPs is short for psychological warfare operations, which are military operations usually aimed at influencing the enemy's state of mind through non-combative means. These techniques are used by military and political forces to influence the beliefs, emotions, and behaviors of citizens, aka us. At the end of the day, it's all marketing, but instead of a product, they're selling you an ideal. These PSYOPs operations play on the 7 deadly sins, which are lust, gluttony, pride, sloth, wrath, greed, and envy. These 7 sins are the greatest desire known to mankind, so avoiding these feelings is virtually impossible. Additionally, they play on the strong human emotions of anger, fear, and of course, hate. I mean, you've been on social media. These emotions are also the easiest to stir up in an individual, as I'm sure you've learned at Thanksgiving. So let's take a look at some past PSYOPs campaigns. In the times of World War I and World War II, you would see propaganda everywhere in your town, coming in forms such as posters, billboards, newspaper ads, pamphlets, and more. These posters here included sayings such as, "I want you for the US Army," which plays on pride, and "he volunteered for submarine service," which obviously plays on lust. So let's take a look at a PSYOPs campaign from the Vietnam War now. In the Vietnam War, the US military played a soundtrack called Ghost Tape Number 10 in the Vietnamese jungles at night to persuade the troops to surrender instead of actually fighting them. US forces hoped that the operation, codenamed Wandering Soul, would prey on the fears of many Vietnamese. The Vietnamese culture includes beliefs and rituals that show respect for the dead. They believed if a person is not properly buried, they will wander the earth as a wandering soul. Now, a little game time. I want you to picture yourself as a Vietnamese soldier, walking through a dark, damp jungle in the middle of the night. You're tired, hungry, and just want to go back home to your family, who you haven't seen in a long while, when suddenly you hear the sound of your fellow soldiers who have died, their souls wandering through the jungle forever, and the eerie sounds of Buddhist funeral music playing in the background, as well as screaming, crying, and the sounds of ghosts and spirits. So let's take a listen to the real Ghost Tape Number 10. jungle in the middle of the night. I would run home. Don't blame me. At the time of the Gulf War, the US sent pamphlets out to the Arabian soldiers, telling them that if they surrendered, they would treat them very well, and no harm would come to them. These pamphlets were designed with the help of cooperative Iraqi prisoners of war. They advised against using the color red and to feature soldiers with bowls of fruit, like bananas. Bananas are a delicacy to the Arabians, so this played on the sins of greed and gluttony. Many Iraqi troops surrendered holding that pamphlet. That's enough history. Let's jump ahead in time and talk about a more modern PSYOPs case concerning Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica was a political consulting firm that used large data sets to target and change the minds of voters. They used Facebook personality surveys to sort people into a few main categories. The survey, coupled with other Facebook data, created what is known as an OCEAN score. OCEAN stood for openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and agreeableness, and neuroticism. Depending on your OCEAN score, they would determine if you are a persuadable, aka someone whose political views could be easily changed. Content farms like Cambridge Analytica make thousands of fake ads and articles. These then amplify through fake accounts which also comment on them, further fanning the flames. The lesson here is that if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. So you've had some history and some examples. Now let's walk through a PSYOPs campaign together. There's 6 basic steps to any PSYOPs campaign. They are plan, target audience, series development, product design, dissemination, and evaluation. For our example, I will be combining some of these steps together to save time. First is planning. In this phase, you determine your goal and who your target audience is. For our example, the objective will be convincing Bob that unicorns are real. So let's call this Operation Twilight. For any operation, it helps to give your target audience a name and an individual identity. This makes the series development and product design much easier. That's why we have created Bob. Next, we refine our target audience. We chose Bob, but who is Bob? We picked Bob because he does many Facebook personality surveys, and through those, we found out he is a persuadable, aka someone whose political views can be easily changed. He's also very active online with his friends. This will be a force multiplier to our operation. Now that we have an objective and our target audience, let's move on to series development and product design. I put these two together because they happen hand in hand in a PSYOPs operation. Though it seems logical, we can't just make an ad that says, "Unicorns are real," and be done. Much like you guys, Bob will not believe that. He'll just laugh at it and move on. It has nothing to do with his interests. What we need to do is slowly pull Bob through a series of targeted ads and PSYOPs that convince him unicorns are real. First, we'll send out some articles from our fake AI-generated online newspaper that is made to look like a legitimate popular site. The article talks about how scientists have managed to splice the DNA of a narwhal with the DNA of a horse, causing horses to start growing a horn. This article will have links to our AI-generated scientific journal with more articles on how this DNA splicing works, complete with a case study of the unicorn gene splicing. We can also add legitimate sounding scientist names and quotes into it. Soon after these, similar articles will be posted, one being on how scientists have managed to manipulate the horn DNA to determine its length, allowing our unicorns to have a more natural looking horn. We will use AI to generate realistic pictures of unicorns. And since Bob is a bit of a conspiracy nut, we will make them look as if the photos come from hidden camera shots. Bob will love these and share the photos with all of his friends. His friends who share similar interests with him will believe it, but some may be more skeptical. When these friends laugh at him, he will simply send the links to our articles and scientific journals, causing many of them to join Bob as a unicorn convert. Next is dissemination. Dissemination has been happening through Facebook ads that look like legitimate news articles. We can also create a scientific podcast interviewing all these scientists who created the unicorn. This podcast will be supported by the numerous fake Twitter and Instagram accounts we are using to spread photos of our unicorn. Finally, we evaluate our operation. Turns out, it worked. Not only did we convince Bob that unicorns were real, he also used our propaganda to convince his friends they were real as well, further spreading our message. As a bonus, Bob started a blog about unicorns to continue this lie. He also put together the theory that scientists could add wings. Now that Bob is the admin of unicornsarereal.com, which I wonder if that's a real site, someone Google that later, he and his friends are pulling in others, all pointing, get it, because unicorn, point, no, okay, at our original products from our series development and product design phase. This operation has taken on a life of its own. I mean, if we wanted to, we could create more surveillance camera footage of an alicorn in our lab, which is a unicorn with wings, not to be confused with a Pegasus, which is just a horse with wings. Important knowledge. That's the most important thing you will learn from this talk. That was a successful PsyOps operation. If we wanted to keep this going, we could revisit all the steps and expand our operation to include more and more people. But I think we've done enough damage for today, and Bob can take it from here. That was obviously a fun theoretical example, but let's look at some real-world PsyOps now. Throughout this talk, try to identify some of the operation steps we just went over as well. As I'm sure you know, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, is used by Russians and other groups to sow disinformation to the American populace, many of them using the same techniques that Facebook did. One big problem with Twitter is the low bar for entry. This allows groups to use tools that create many bot accounts very quickly. And if you are an avid social media user, you will definitely notice all the bot accounts. These accounts then go and tweet the same things. Once a bot gets caught and blocked, they simply create a new batch of bots. These bot accounts frequently feature beautiful young women because the target audience is primarily male voters. Take this account, for example. These photos were stolen off a Colombian Instagram influencer's account. The Twitter bots also retweet other bots' tweets, as is shown here in this beautiful graphic by Daniel Gallagher. Now, let's look at some deepfakes and how they are used in a PsyOps campaign. Cameo. I don't know if you've heard of Cameo before, but Cameo is an app where you can pay for personal private messages from a ton of different celebrities. For example, the Harry Potter lover in your life can pay Tom Felton, aka Draco Malfoy, to say happy birthday to them. And I find it funny how 0.2% of people didn't like him. And that's probably the fans who didn't realize that it's been years since the movies were filmed. And now Draco Malfoy looks like he's had one too many butterbeers. Okay, all jokes aside, bad actors have found ways to use Cameo for their malicious intents. For example, a bad actor targeted a video to Maya Sandu, who is the president of Moldova, and being pro-Ukrainian, she is target of many pro-Russian attacks. This bad actor hired a few celebrities from the US to make happy birthday videos for his friend Sandu. After the videos were recorded, he used AI to alter what they say and how they say it. The celebrities now said, "Let's get rid of Sandu," in Russian. The top caption there being, "We Hollywood stars support the people of Moldova in their desire to overthrow you, Sandu." So I'm going to play the actual video of that was all over the news and also all over social media platforms that Sandu herself has also seen. The first part of the video, before it cuts in the middle, is pre-edit. This is the actual video of the celebrities with their original cameos. Then after that comes the edited version. Pretty freaky, right? So how did this bad actor get away with this? First off, the cameos are shot on a cell phone, meaning their low quality makes deepfaking the video and editing it much easier. And also, the bad actor, whatever application they used to cause the edited voice to make them say all of that, made it so that they sounded like they didn't naturally speak Russian, to make it seem more realistic and accurate, which, commitment to the craft, I will say that. AI isn't a new threat, like most people say it is, but it can help make existing threats easier to produce and more effective. As Director of Elections and Government Program at Brenham Center for Justice at New York University School of Law said, "We don't really think of AI as a freestanding threat, but more as a threat amplifier." CISA itself also addressed this concern in its Risk in Focus report in the Generative AI in the Election Cycle, stating, "AI will likely not introduce new risks, but they may amplify existing risks to election infrastructure." Not too long ago, AI adult content of Taylor Swift took Twitter and the internet by storm. Even though deepfakes of celebrities have been on adult websites for years, it took these images of Taylor Swift for the government to finally take some action when it came to AI and AI deepfakes. The White House urged Congress to act, and Representative Joe Morell renewed efforts to make non-consensual sharing of explicit images a federal crime, with jail time. Especially since most of you have probably worked in cybersecurity, I'm sure it's easy for you to believe that you can spot all of this AI content. But a few studies, including this one, shows that might not be the case, as most people believe AI faces to look more real than real ones. This study is part of Psychological Science, Volume 34, Issue 12, published in 2023. So very recent. And out of the 610 people, more thought AI photos were real than actual photos. Think you are smarter than these participants? Let's test you out. Let's play Spot the AI. For every one of these images, I'm going to have you raise your hand nice high up in the air if you believe it is an AI image. If you don't, keep your hand down. Don't let the majority crowd dictate whether you put your hand up or not. So let's get started. Is this image AI? Raise your hand if you believe it is AI. Okay? This is AI. How about this one? Real or AI? Raise your hand if you think it's AI. This is AI generated. Yeah. How about this man? Is he real or AI? Hand up if you think AI. He is real. How about this man? Is he AI? Is he real? Don't change your vote because other people are raising their hand. Really think about it. He's real. How about this man? Real or AI? Okay, he is AI. Okay. But what about him? Is he real or AI? Okay, he is real. Let's try a woman. Is she real or AI? Okay, she is real. Okay, real or AI? Okay, she is also real. Now for the hardest one. This gets a lot of people. Real or AI? Thank you for those of you who raised your hands, because yes, I am AI. I am part of the next generation of cyber clones. Be ready, we're coming for you. Okay, so as you can see, it's a bit harder than you would think to spot all this AI content. This chart shows what people look for when identifying if an image could be AI or not. The main categories, of course, being image quality, specific facial features, skin and wrinkles, symmetry, and lighting, which is probably some of the things you looked out for too, to see if these images were real or not, which didn't go as well as you planned, I'm sure. Did anyone actually get all of them right? Hey, I saw you. Oh, he's like, no, never mind, never mind. I was just lying, I swear. If this test stumped you even just a little bit, imagine how much harder it would be for an older person or an unaware person to spot these AI images, especially if they're not actively looking out for them like you were. So we all know spreading disinformation is wrong. But how unlawful is it? Let's take a look at the US legal code covering the imparting or conveying of false information. Get ready for some lawyer terms, people. Whoever willfully and maliciously, or with reckless disregard for safety of human life, imparts or conveys false information, knowing the information to be false, concerning an attempt being made to do any act which would be a crime prohibited by this chapter or of this title, shall be fined under this title, or imprisoned not more than 5 years. So this code has a lot of leeway for bad actors to pull the, "But sir, I didn't know any better" card. Since it states, with reckless disregard for safety of human life, a person on trial can state that they weren't physically harming anyone by spreading this disinformation. The other key parts here are willfully and knowing the information to be false. This way, someone spreading misinformation could play dumb and essentially state they believed the information they were spreading was true, pulling the whole freedom of speech card. With AI and deepfakes spreading all over the internet, this allows bad actors to rely on the liar's dividend to keep their names safe. This means what's fake is real and what's real is fake. For example, the family of a man who died in a Tesla car crash filed a lawsuit against the company, referencing a video of Elon Musk, with him saying that cars can drive autonomously with greater safety than a person. And the Tesla lawyers then stated, "Like many public figures, Elon is the subject of many deepfake videos and audio recordings that purport to show him saying and doing things he never actually said or did," stating that that original video of him saying that was fake. But thankfully, the court didn't buy this argument. They said their position is that because Mr. Musk is famous and might be more of a target for deepfakes, his public statements are immune. In other words, Mr. Musk and others in his position can simply say whatever they like in the public domain, then hide behind the potential for their recorded statements being a deepfake to avoid taking ownership of what they did actually say or do. As another example, 2 people on trial after the January 6th riot also tried claiming these videos of them presented were AI, but thankfully that didn't pass either. But as AI gets harder and harder to spot, who knows? With more people claiming evidence to be deepfaked, courts may now need to require more proof that the evidence presented is real. This is an example of the CSI effect, where the potential of evidence tampering makes jurors want more evidence. But not everyone has the money, time, or ability to hire experts who can gather more evidence to prove all these existing examples they gave. This will also slow our judicial process even more, as cases will require more time and more resources. With the mass production of malicious AI, lawmakers are literally scrambling to make decisions regarding AI regulation. The European Union was the first to take action as they put into place their AI Act. This act puts regulations on the use of AI tools and regulations on the tools themselves. The Act's restrictions are very influential because these companies don't want to make and manage multiple models of the same system. So instead, they will follow the Act's regulations cross-platform and in different nations, further benefiting other nations as well. However, there is also a big issue when it comes to lawmaking, and that is its speed, especially in the US, where laws literally take months of altering and voting in order to just be approved. Getting something passed here is near impossible. Worst part is, once something is eventually passed, the technology has changed, grown, and adapted, requiring new laws to be put in place or new adaptations, which will take even more time. And this is why only 12 states out of the 50 states have any AI information regulation whatsoever, which is barely anything. This year, at the Munich Security Conference, they held a tech discussion where many representatives and heads from major companies came together to create an accord on combating deceptive use of AI in the upcoming 2024 elections. Their main goal was awareness. They wanted to develop AI detection, create better AI education and informational resources. And throughout this, I'd like you to keep in mind this accord only covers deceptive election content, not all deceptive content. So who are some of the people who signed this accord? I'm sure you'll probably recognize most of these names, like Amazon, 11 Labs, Google, IBM, Meta, Microsoft, LinkedIn, OpenAI, TikTok, and of course X. This accord covers all AI content, whether it be written, video, audio, photo, etc. So let's read over some of the promises the signers committed to developing and implementing technology to mitigate risks related to deceptive AI content. They promise to seek and detect the distribution of this content on their platforms. Good luck with that. Fostering cross-identity resilience to deceptive AI election content, but how are they going to do that over millions of accounts? And this one's pretty good, supporting efforts to foster public awareness, media literacy, and all of society resilience. And if you're ever bored, you can read through the other things too on the official accord. But as you can see, the commitments given are very broad, and very broad rules lead to broad commitment. Notice how these companies promise to mark harmful content, but not outright ban it. As you saw, most of the companies who signed are mainly AI and social media companies. Misinformation is their moneymaker. Labeling their content as bad is like cigarette companies labeling their products as hazardous. They know their content is harmful, but they won't stop you from consuming it. Let's look back at who signed. One of these companies that I have conveniently underlined is 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a voice AI research and deployment company. 11 Labs creates the most realistic, versatile, and contextually aware AI audio, providing the ability to generate speech in hundreds of new or existing voices in 29 languages. Pretty impressive. As a technology research company, 11 Labs is at the forefront of developing new cutting-edge voice AI. One bad actor was able to use this 11 Labs tool to their advantage during the very recent primary election in New Hampshire. So who's from New Hampshire? Anyone from New Hampshire? No one, no fun. Pretend you're all from New Hampshire. Oh my goodness, guys, look, it's your state. voters from New Hampshire got a call from Joe Biden, urging them not to vote. Eventually, word of this call came to the Attorney General's office, and they sent it off to Bloomberg News for testing. Bloomberg News' test shows that the call only had a 2% likelihood of being AI generated. What detection tool did they use? 11 Labs' own speech classifier. Not satisfied with their results, the office then sent it to Pindrop Security Inc., who is a voice fraud detection company. They were able to figure out the audio clip was created with 11 Labs and traced it back to one specific user. How did they do this? To figure this out, they removed all the background audio and cut the recording into 155 segments that were all 250 milliseconds long. What did this do? This allowed them to do a deep analysis of every part individually and compare it to other data files they had on fake and real audio. But why didn't the 11 Labs tool work? It only works if you analyze the raw file. And I doubt the bad actor is just going to hand you the raw file. There you go. Only when they were caught out for letting a user create this content that made it past their own detection software did they suspend the bad actor. And in fact, on the 11 Labs website, they say that they will allow voice clones of big public speakers, including politicians, if it is used to express humor or mockery in a way that is clear to the listener that what they are hearing is a parody. But as we learned earlier, not everyone can identify AI content. And I'd like you to keep in mind that 11 Labs signed this accord we just read over before all of this drama happened. So next, we're going to listen to this actual call, and you will hear just how scary accurate this is.
Know the value of voting Democratic when our votes count. It's important that you save your vote for the November election. We'll need your help in electing Democrats up and down the ticket. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again. Your vote makes a difference in November, not this Tuesday. If you would like to be removed from future calls, please press 2 now.
Pretty darn scary, right? With influential attacks like this one and the others we have talked about constantly happening, it can be so hard to escape this doom mentality we've all been hanging on to for so long. The idea that the news you consume is more than likely to be biased or untrue has probably led you and many others to lose the desire to stay in the loop. And though it can be so hard and so tedious, trust me, I know it is so important to verify sources, and it is essential now more than ever to be able to differentiate false information from real content. So how do you do that? Let's look over some tricks you can use and teach others as well on spotting all of this fake content. When reading any articles, look out for adjective dumping, which is a form of loaded language. The more adjectives an author is using, the more they are trying to convince you of something and change your mind about something, rather than just informing you. So let's take a look at a made-up example. First, this content here is completely, well, not actually factual, but factual, for the case of this example, and unbiased. This 2024 election, Taylor Swift will be running for president. Her plan to win this election is by giving out free tickets to her fans. Now let's look at it biased to paint Taylor Swift as bad. This 2024 election, the infamous Taylor Swift will be running for president. Her sly plan to win this election is by only giving out free tickets to her fans. The part that says infamous sets you up to think, oh, so everyone thinks she's bad. The part that says she's sly shows she's deceptive, and then only makes you feel excluded. I'm not a Taylor fan. I want tickets, though. One important thing to look out for is that articles can also be biased, showing you that a certain politician or someone is good, not just that they're bad. Like this, for example. This 2024 election, the beloved Taylor Swift will be running for president. Her generous plan to win this election is by kindly giving out free tickets to her fans. Beloved makes you think, oh, everyone loves her. Everyone loves her. She's good. And generous and kindly shows just how great of a person she is. So again, the less adjectives, the better. Let's talk about some other checks now. It's always good to do a quick background check on the author as well. Do they work in the field they are discussing? What else have they written on? If you can't find information like that on them or other information, it's not a good sign. One thing my English professor always tells us is that the more evidence an author brings to back up their claims, the stronger the piece is. With this in mind, see if they list sources, and if so, go check those sources and all the original sources, because things can also be taken out of context. If the article is on a site, it's always a good idea to see what other types of content they have on that same website. Does the other content follow a biased pattern? Like, do they only talk about one political party? And if so, do they talk about that party as good or bad? Then you should always check if other news sources are discussing the same topics. One other little example of all of this has to do with Ariana Grande. And I promise I'm not just plugging her in because she's my favorite artist. Any Ariana fans in here? I love you. So pretty recently, Ariana was part of a scandal that stated that she was cheating on her now ex-husband with a fellow co-star. Where did this news come out from? It came out from one website, from one article. This article, I've read it, has a ton of loaded language as well as no sources for any of this information. But Ariana being a celebrity, this gained a lot of traction. And other news sites saw that this story was so popular that they just had to post about it too. So other news sites were linking this original flawed article as their point of reference source in their thing to make it seem more legitimate. And it started to blow completely out of control. That's when Ariana's team came out and said, hey, this article doesn't seem true, what's up? And the original source was like, yeah, we just made this up for the clicks and came out with a whole thing on it. But this put a giant detrimental thing on her career. So it's easy to take things out of context and have things blow up from one original source. Our parents were lying to us when they said, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Information, whether true or not, is powerful and impactful. This is why it's essential not only to watch out for yourselves, but to share with others what you learned today so that they can also watch out for themselves. The internet, like the world, is a very scary place. But if we work together, we can use it for its original intention, which is to collaborate, share, and learn together. And with that, happy election season, everyone.